Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, we discuss a much-loved reference from the 39mm era of the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak chronograph. So this is the 26300ST, 39mm in diameter, 11.2mm thick. If we're just measuring the case, lug tip to lug tip, it's 49.1 millimeters. If we measure the first plot or intermediate link from one side to the other, total distance across the wrist is 52.7. Royal Oaks are solid. They feel heavy for their size. At 39 millimeters, but with a robustly built bracelet, this is a substantial watch. On my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, you can see why the 39 millimeter versions of the Royal Oak chronograph are so highly sought. They fit beautifully. And I could envision this watch fitting on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. Again, mine is 16. Even over the top, you can see the lugs, the edge of the case, not over the edge of my wrist, and it will easily slide underneath the cuff. Big part of what you pay for on a Royal Oak has always been the quality of the hand-finished details on the metal. Gerald Genta's 1972 original was designed as a piece of jewelry for men that could, incidentally, hold a timepiece. And so Genta envisioned himself primarily as a jewelry designer who moonlit as a watch designer. So we have integration of case into lug into bracelet with all of the decoration, the small polished facets, the breaks with satin, the satin finish that doesn't always move in the same direction. You can see longitudinal across the top of the links, vertical in profile, along with the bevel that extends from the lugs all the way down the shoulders of the links. This takes a long time. Apparently, 9 to 11 hours to hand finish a steel Royal Oak bracelet, and that's before we get to the case and the bezel. So deeply impressive craftsmanship. And Genta's all of a piece, case into lug into bracelet, looks as dramatic today as it did back in the early 70s. Now you can see we have a logo style AP single fold clasp. There's a little trigger release that you withdraw to open up the clasp, just like that. Rolling around to the case, you can see it's in great shape. We have a bezel that's satinated in profile and then has a sloped and polished facet and then a curtain of satin brushing from top to bottom. The hexagonal and slightly recessed bolts in the bezel, and they are bolts. They're made of white gold, so you can see they're of a slightly warmer tone than the steel. We have screw-down crowns here. Solid case back. The watch is 50 meters water resistant, which, courtesy of the screw downs, is sufficient for surface swimming. Now the timepiece has a rounded octagonal bezel that was originally inspired by a vintage diving helmet. You could see that the shoulders for the pushers as well as the crown are hexagonal to match the shape of the bolts. Now we have a blue lacquered tapisserie dial. It is a traditional pantograph cut type. Certain types of Royal Oak, particularly the offshores, feature stamped. This is pantograph cut, and you can see that well as you get close. 10 to 20,000 tiny dots cut in a circular fashion by the mimicry lathe, whose technology dates back to the 19th century. A lovely tritone here. We have a combination of blue and silver white with orange accents, unconventional and attractive. We have hands and indices of white gold, so they'll never tarnish. You can see polished chapped rings for the sub-registers. Turn out the light, easy to see in the dark. Now the watch features a Frédéric Piguet 1185 movement, which moonlights as there is an Omega version, but this is the Audemars Piguet 2385. So the 1185 is a Frédéric Piguet movement, which incidentally was also used for the first Vacheron overseas chronograph and the second overseas chronograph. It's a high horology, ultra-thin, integrated automatic chronograph with unidirectional winding, a 3 Hz beat rate, 37 joules, a 40-hour power reserve, a quick set date, credible decoration that makes it high horology, and a combination of a crisp column wheel to operate its functions and a vertical clutch to engage, so there's no extraneous motion or jump or stagger when you start the chronograph, and if you wish, you can simply leave the chronograph running full-time with no additional wear and tear. In fact, the only feature that the 1185 caliber lacks is hacking seconds, so just keep that in mind. But if you're using the chronograph seconds hand as you're running seconds, you can effectively just reset it and restart it to synchronize to a reference time. The movement is 5-position adjusted, which is high horology and also what you find on chronometers. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.